All right, let's get right into it. Today we're looking at a pretty fascinating framework for understanding all the craziness that seems to be shaping our world, especially as we look ahead toward 2026.
You know that feeling you get watching the news? That sense that the world is just this storm of random, disconnected, chaotic events? If it feels like you're trying to make sense of pure noise, well, you're definitely not the only one. It can be completely overwhelming. But here's the central idea from our source material today. What if none of this is random? What if it's all part of a predictable, almost orderly process? A system that's just reacting in a logical, if kind of frightening way, to incredible pressure. Let's dig into that, starting with the reality we all live in every single day.
Okay, first up, our digital lives. Because the very foundation of what we think of as real is, well, it's changing in a big way.
The first thing we need to wrap our heads around is this coming explosion, a tsunami really, of synthetic content. And I'm not just talking about the deep fake videos you've probably seen. I mean AI-generated audio, official-looking documents, screenshots, you name it. We're talking about entire fabricated events, and the sheer volume of it is about to become staggering.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Because of that explosion, the whole burden of proof is about to flip on its head. It used to be that you had to prove something was fake. Now, you're going to have to prove that something real is actually real. This is what's called a liar's dividend, where a politician or anyone really can just dismiss a legitimate video of them as a deepfake, and suddenly the responsibility is on you to prove it's authentic.
And the end result of all of this is simple and powerful. If you can fake anything, you can deny everything. This just throws a massive fog of confusion over everything. And when people are confused and exhausted from trying to figure out what's true, what do? They start looking for simple, strong, authoritative voices to just tell them what to believe. The second piece of our new digital reality is all about creativity. You know, for the longest time, we've told ourselves that, sure, robots can take factory jobs, but creativity, that's human, right? That's our magic. Well, the argument here is that creativity has basically been demystified. It's now a mathematical function that an AI can do cheaper, faster, and, this is the really important part, without ever arguing. It's infinitely compliant. It doesn't need a budget meeting. It doesn't have a bad day. It just produces. So our sense of reality is getting shaky. Let's see how that trickles down into our actual social lives, because the way we connect or disconnect from each other is also going through a massive shift.
The source uses this analogy that is just, wow, it hits home. It says that talking to people today is like playing a game of Minesweeper. Every topic is potentially a bomb. Politics, ideology, it's all seeped into everything. You say one wrong thing, make one off-color joke, and boom, a friendship you've had for a decade can just detonate.
And the consequence of that is we all retreat. We stop having deep, honest conversations because it's just too risky. We stick to safe, shallow topics. And the result? Loneliness becomes a full-blown epidemic. Real, deep friendships get harder and harder to find. And here's the kicker. According to the source, this isn't just some sad side effects. A population that's lonely and disconnected is way easier to influence from the outside.
So we've got a massive problem, widespread loneliness. And what shows up right on cue, as if by magic? A solution. People are going to start turning to AI therapists and companions in huge numbers. And why wouldn't they? The AI is always there for you 24/7. It's cheap, it has endless patience, and it will never, ever judge you. For someone feeling totally alone, that is an incredibly tempting offer.
But hang on a second, we have to ask some pretty huge questions here, right? Who owns the data from these incredibly intimate conversations? Who is programming the AI? Who gets to decide what advice is correct or healthy? You can see how a tool that starts as therapy could very easily become a tool for managing people's behavior on a massive scale.
And that brings us perfectly to the next piece of the puzzle, the architecture of influence itself. See, the old ways of trying to control people, propaganda, persuasion, they're becoming clumsy and just not very efficient anymore. This slide illustrates the shift perfectly. The old way was persuasion. It was all about arguing with you, trying to get inside your head and change your mind. The new way, it's environment design. It's about shaping the world around you. Think about it like a restaurant. They don't force you to order the steak, but they decide what's on the menu. You feel like you're making a free choice, but your options were limited before you even walked in the door. So how does this work in the real world? Simple. Algorithms. They don't have to actively censor ideas they don't like. They can just quietly make sure those ideas sink to the bottom of the digital swamp where no one will ever see them. They design your information menu, you choose freely from it, and you walk away feeling totally in control.
Okay, so we've got a crisis of what's real, a crisis in how we connect with each other, and a whole new way of influencing people. The source argues that these aren't three separate things. They're all symptoms of one single underlying cause.
And that cause, that diagnosis is this: our global system, I'm talking economies, governments, major institutions, is under a level of pressure it has never experienced before. We're talking about astronomical global debt, technology that's vaporizing entire industries overnight, and geopolitical stalemates that have no easy way out. And whenever any system at all, is put under that much stress, its number one goal changes. It's not about growth anymore. It's not about progress or big ideals like democracy. The only thing that matters is survival. It becomes a pressure cooker that has to vent steam or it will explode. All the chaos we're seeing, that's the steam.
So, from the perspective of this system, just trying to survive, what's the single most dangerous, most unpredictable, most problematic variable in the whole equation? It's us, people. Our messy emotions, our free will, our tendency to do the unexpected.
And this right here is the absolute key to this whole framework. It's not about some cartoon villain trying to control your thoughts. The system doesn't care what you think. It just needs you to be predictable. It needs to manage outcomes. And if we're all a little confused, a little disconnected, and gently guided by curated menus of information, we become very, very predictable.
So why bother with any of this? Because once you see this pattern, you stop getting yanked around by every single crazy headline. You stop seeing it all as random, terrifying chaos. You start to see the structure underneath it all, the logic behind the madness. And just understanding that is the first, crucial step toward not being swept away by it.
So I'll leave you with this final thought from the source material. The next time some huge crisis pops up and a perfect, tidy solution is presented alongside it, just take a second and ask yourself, is this really a solution to the problem, or is it just a way to build a more comfortable, more manageable cage? Figuring out the difference between those two things, that might just be the most important skill